Bobbie G. It's a replica of a 1750s era bateau, which is a type of cargo boat mainly used on the Mohawk and Hudson rivers, but right now we're off the St. Lawrence River. And the Mabie Farm Historic Site has two of these boats, and we use them each year on something we call the Big Row. And to do that, for a week we go out rowing and sailing in different spots each year. And we do this to learn how these boats worked and how they actually are to use. In a short trip, you don't really learn what the wind and weather really do to you, but on a long trip you do. And so this year we went down the St. Lawrence River. We traveled 63 miles in 4 days, and some days were very easy and some were very hard. And we can sail them downwind. They don't sail upwind very well, but we can also row them, and they're principally designed to carry a ton of goods and a crew of 3 with a month's supply. We had our crew of 3 in each of our 2 boats, and we had not a ton of goods, just all of our camping gear and food and things like that. And the reenactors who crewed them out, one of the things you get from it is a little bit of appreciation of how hard things were and also how easy things were for various affairs in the 18th century. So when you're under sail and it's a nice easy wind, you think this is just a wonderful life. And when you're rowing into a headwind, you think this is harder than anything. And for instance, in one day we covered only 5 miles in 5 hours because we were rowing into a headwind, and after we stopped we felt that was really enough of that. But the next day we rowed 23 miles and then sailed another 7, and that was really, while it was work, it was not nearly as hard. So each year we choose a different place in the water that these boats had been in originally, and the St. Lawrence is the largest water we've been in. We've done much of the Hudson River and much of the Mohawk River. And with that, we get an appreciation of what some of the difficulties that would have been encountered. We maintain the boats and varnish them and so forth. And historically, they were throwaway boats. They'd be used for 2 or 3 years and then discarded, and bought a new boat to be purchased. The men who crewed them typically would be one guy who'd own it, and the other 2 rowers would be paid employees of his, sort of the equivalent of the tractor-trailer of the 18th century to move goods. And anything that can be shipped would be put in a barrel and loaded up. A boat like this would hold 8 or 10 barrels of goods, and these are 35-gallon barrels. And then when you get to wherever you're going, you hand off the goods to the next guy and pick up goods for the other direction back.
Can you tell me a little bit about the gun that is right behind you?
Yeah, these boats are civilian boats, but they can be used by the military. And so in times of military action, so we're portraying 1760 here, where the British are attacking the French, we have a small swivel gun. This is a half-pound cannon, and it would be used as an anti-personnel weapon loaded with shot or canister, and so small bullets, and just fired as an anti-personnel weapon at short range, and really to deter someone from coming out and attacking you or shooting at you from the shore. It's not intended for anti-ship actions, and we have it rigged up so that it can be easily fired by one man while we're underway or doing anything else. It's a swivel, so we can aim it, and we can also control how it's pointed pretty well. They're actually pretty accurate cannons, except the fact that you're using it as a shotgun, so accuracy is not all that necessary. You can see we have thole pins for rowing, so our oars go between the thole pins instead of using modern oar locks. When you're used to them, they're actually, in my opinion, just as easy or easier. We also use a steering oar that goes off the stern instead of a rudder. We're pointed stern and a flat bottom. Makes the boat very good in shallows and very good if you have a stern current. So some of the rivers were unimproved and you'd get a bit of rapids, and these boats could handle that very well. We've taken these boats into very shallow spaces. With a full load, this boat only draws 13 inches. When we have we've had 12 people aboard her, and there it rows just fine, provided you don't put too much weight in the bow. And it actually does not row it much harder with a full load than empty, as opposed to a lot of boats where they'll have an optimal weight where they work best. This actually really does seem to work best when you have